Hi, Bobby here, and in this lesson we're going to learn the outro solo to the studio version of Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb. Now, having toured for many years with two of the most popular Pink Floyd tribute acts, I know that Pink Floyd fans are a discerning bunch, so I will say that this is not a performance, this is a tutorial, so there's no band, light show, lasers, mirror ball or anything. It's just me breaking down this solo as accurately as I can. And we're going to be working mainly around the B minor pentatonic scale and its various positions, with an added ninth or an added second, in this case this C sharp note. Now, it's assumed that you have some prior knowledge of the fundamental techniques such as string bending, vibrato, and some of the scales we're going to use. I will break everything down note for note, but if you need to learn those techniques, if you need to learn the scales, click this link below. This is my website that just has an extensive library of everything you need to know to play this kind of music and the blues and rock music. So without further ado, let's break it down and we'll start learning Comfortably Numb. So we'll start with the opening. It's going to be a clean sound for this. So we enter that with, it's actually a pinch harmonic, which involves having less of the pick exposed and picking and actually hitting the fleshy part of your thumb on the string at the same time, and you'll get that squeak, hopefully. It's not the end of the world if you miss it, but it's very characteristic of a solo. That's going to be 7 on the G to 9. And then a whole step bend on 9. Give it some vibrato. You can use your whammy bar for vibrato, or you can use your fingers. I don't tend to apply whammy bar vibrato in exactly the places where Gilmour would in the solo. It's down to personal preference, but I do use it for some of the phrases. So hold that bend, and then so you bend again on 9 on the G, release, pull off to 7, and then 9 on the D string, and then back to 7 on the G, and then quite an erratic phrase. Listen to the original for the exact phrasing. So that's on the G string, it's 9, hit that twice, and then 7 on the G, and then 9 twice on the D, and back to 7 on the G, and you can kind of tease that slightly sharp, not too sharp. Then we have so we go into this next position of the B minor pentatonic scale. So we actually slide up to 11 on a G. So 11G, 10B, 11G, 10B to 12B. And then we have a big tone and a half bend. So you're bending up a minor third. So you're bending up the equivalent of 3 frets. Bending this B note up to this D note. Bit very Gilmour, funnily enough. And release it. So when you release it, you pull off to 10, and then back to on the B, and then back to 11 on the G, and then 10B, and then hammer to 12B. And then we have, so just a blues lick there, back in our box position. So that's 7 to 9 on the G. And then that's a bend on 9 on the G. That's actually a whole step bend. But if it's a little bit flat, it doesn't matter because it's kind of a blues thing. And then release, pull off to 7. And then back to 9 on the D. And then we have this triplet minor pentatonic rundown. So that's 10 on the B, pull off to 7, and then 9 G, back to 7 on the B, and then that's 9, pull off to 7 on the G, and then 9 on the D string. Give it some whammy bar vibrato. So that's our next phrase. So that's slide from 7 to 9 on the A string, and then that's 7 twice on the D, and then 9 on the G, on the D, sorry, and then that's 7 on the G, tease that slightly sharp, and then that's 9, pull off to 7, back to 9 on the D string. Then we have this. So I'll break that down one little bit at a time. So it's a rake. You want to bar your first finger across the top 3 strings on the 7th fret and just rake across. You can roll your finger over. It's a kind of sweep picking thing, which is kind of beyond the remit of this tutorial, but not the end of the world if you just, you know, do that. But if you roll your finger over and then you pick up 9 on the high E string, bend up half a step, release it, pull off to 7, and then 10 B to 7 high E, and then bend up a whole step on 10 on the B string, and then we finish it with, well, actually we go into the next phrase with this. So it's 10, pull off to 7 on the B, and then 9 on the G. Then we have, that's the first of our long triplet pentatonic licks. Excuse my hybrid picking, it's just something I do. Gilmour probably would have picked every note. Doesn't really make a huge difference in this context with the amount of gain you're going to be using. But just in case the Pink Floyd police, you know, kind of pull me up on that one. So that's, you bend up a whole step on 9 on the G, and then you've got this partial bar, which is 7 on the B, 7 on the high E, and then that's 10 on the B string, pull off to 7. So the next bit, that's it's a kind of half step bend. You can do a whole step bend, but that's on 9 on the G. It's actually a half step bend. So you bend, release, pull off to 7, and then 9 on the D string, and then 9, pull off to 7 on the G, back to 9 on the D. So putting it together with the previous phrase, and then that's just a kind of blues scale rundown. So that's 7 on the G. Can tease that slightly sharp, and then and then that's 9 to 7 on the D, then a chromatic rundown, 9, 8, 7 on the A string, down to 5 on the A, and tease that slightly sharp. So if you put that together slowly, and then we have another quite erratic lick. Starts with jingle bells, on 9, sorry, on 7 on the G. You want to hit that and kind of, you know, it's very staccato. So you're not going, you're, you know, really kind of aggressively cutting the notes off. And then we have this classic blues lick. So bend up whole step on the on 9 on the G, and this partial bar again, which is 7 high E. Then we have 10 D, pull off to 7, and a hammer on from nowhere. So it's not kind of preceded by a hammer on, a pull off, or it's not picked. Just hammer on to the G on 9. So then we have this half step bend on 9 on the G, pull off, so bend, release, pull off to 7, and then hammer on to 9 on the D. That's the next bit. So very staccato. That's the first part. So that's 9 G. Can tease this 7 on the G slightly sharp. And then that's 9 pull off to 7 on the D. And then 9 on the A string. And then and then I pick up 7 on the A string with the first finger, and then slide it down to 5 on the A. You can do this, but it's easier to get out of the previous lick. So, and then that's 7 pull off to 5 on the A, and then 7 on the low E. Then 5A, 7A. Then we have so. Actually, just to give it its full duration. So that's 9 on the A. You kind of slide in from 7, and then hit 7 on the D a bunch of times. 3 times, sorry. That's 9 D, 7, tease that slightly sharp on the G, and then back to 9 on the D. So, and then back to 7 on the G, and then again this blues lick. So it's bend up a whole step on 9 on the G, and then this partial bar again. So 7B, 7 high E, 10 B, then you bend up a whole step on 9 on the G, and then 7 on the B, back to 7 on the G, and then 9 G, 7 G. And then we have the second of our long blues triplet runs, which is very similar to the previous one. Very similar. In fact, I probably don't need to break it down if you know the previous one, because you've got it's exactly the same, just with an A note at the end, which is on the 5th fret on the low E. So, you know, kind of, it's very, again, very abrupt when that comes in. And then we come into this territory, which is the double stops. So So that's you're barring the top 3 strings on the 7th fret, but you're only really interested in the G and the B strings. So hit those, and then 9 on the D string. Give it some whammy bar vibrato, and you do it again, but you kind of precede it with a little scratch. So if you know how to mute. So if I put that whole phrase together. 2, 3, 4. So you do it a 3rd time, but then you go this double stop and then 9 on the D, and then back to this double stop. So 2, 3, and 4, and then so again. It's back in this B minor pentatonic box shape territory. So you bend G up a whole step on the 9th fret, release it and pull off to 7, and then 9 on the D, and then 7, 9, and then bend up from 9. So, and then another classic David Gilmour lick. So that's 7 on the high E, 10 B, pull off to 7 on the B, bend up a whole step on 10 on the B. And then we have our 3rd triplet rundown, which is slightly different to the previous 2. So it's slightly longer. That bit is exactly the same, so I don't need to break that down. And then we have, so that's 7G, and then 9 on the D, pull off to 7 on the D, and then 9 to 7 on the D again. So to 9 on the A. So, and then from there, it's just a blues scale rundown, if you know your blues scale, and its various positions. So that's 7D, chromatic rundown, 9, 8, 7 on the A. Slide your first finger down to 5 on the A string, and finish off with 7 on a low E. One more time. So our next section we have so coming out of this triplet rundown, you quickly have to pick up 9 on the D, and then this double stop again, 7 on the G and B strings, and you give it a quick 16th note scratch and hit that double stop again. You can tease that slightly sharp, you know, use your ears, it's a very bluesy thing. And then you hit that double stop again, and then it's 7 on the D string. You can use the same finger. So that's 9 on the D, 7 to 9 on the G, bend up a whole step on 9 on the G, and then that's 9, pull off to 7 on the G, and then down to 9 on the D string. So, and then we hit that double stop again, and then 9, pull off to 7 on the D, and then 9 on the A string. So so next time around, that's 7 to 9 on the D, and then this figure again, and you do it again. You can do that figure a third time, but I'm hearing this, which is double stop on 9 on the G and B strings, pulling off to 7 on the G and B string, back to our root note on 9 on the D. So putting it all together very slowly. And then we have this. Now, these funky things that David Gilmour does a lot, I believe you can take a little bit of artistic license with it. Now, obviously, some of the more discerning Pink Floyd fans might comment and say, "Oh no, it has to be exactly the same as on the record." But I think, as a rule of thumb, whoever the guitarist is, whose solos you happen to be learning, if he or she takes artistic license live and plays a different phrase, then you have every right to do that, because there are so many recorded versions of Comfortably Numb where David Gilmour would play a slightly different thing. So he was probably just going for it in the studio. So that's what I'm hearing. So that's a funky. And then the next bit is kind of a little bit freer, and I believe the next phrase, the high note, may or may not have been, please don't at me, may or may not have been an overdub. It sounds to me like a punch-in. It sounds like a drop-in where it's very sudden that he's suddenly an octave higher, but you can get there. So I mean, what I did on the playthrough is just that. I might have given it another couple at the end before getting to this note. So that brings us to our high part. So it's this B note. I'm actually bending this A note on the 17th fret on high E. I'm bending it up a whole step. Going into that phrase. But you can actually, he may have bent this. He may have bent to this B note up on the 22nd fret, although I doubt it, because he may have played this with a 21 fret guitar. But if you have 22 frets and you have access to the higher frets, then rather than jumping around, you can do it here. Now that phrasing's quite random, and again, it's one of those artistic license things, I feel. So we go 19 to 21 on the high, and then we're bending up half a step on the 21st fret, bending it, hitting it a few times, releasing it. You can make it cry a couple of times, so give it some pre-bending, as long as you're hitting the pitch. And the end of that phrase comes a little bit late. Sounds really cool when he does it. I was unable to replicate that on my playthrough. I was a little bit early with that, but that's 19 on the high E, hammer on to 21, and then back to 19. And then we have this phrase. So it's preceded by a couple of kind of scratches, you know, percussive. I was just hovering over, I think, over the 17th fret on the B before hitting the 17th fret on the B. And then you bend up a whole step. And again, and then release and pull off to 15. To 16 on the G. So that's 15B to 17B. And then you can play that down here. In fact, you can play this whole phrase down here. You know, if you know the neck well enough, it may have been played there, but I just do it here. And then blues lick, so that's 15 on the B string. You can tease that slightly sharp and staccato, and then 17 on the B. And then we have, so that's a whole step bend on 17, release, and then pull off to 15, and then down to 16 on the G. I actually gave it some whammy bar vibrato there. I mean, we're in fade out territory now, but let's just look at the last few phrases that you can hear on the recording. And then we have, so that's a B minor pentatonic rundown. So that's 10 to 12 on the B string. A grace note slide, almost immediate slide from 11 down to 9 on the G, and then 7 G to 9 on the D string, and then back up to 12 on the B string. I mean, you can pick it up there, you can pick up this B note if you know the neck well enough, but it seems to get there very quickly, so it's kind of a jump. That's what I'm hearing. There's not really much of a slide, but if you want to slide, I mean, that's probably a more natural thing to do. And then we have another blues lick. So that's 10 on the high E to 12 on the B. And then that's bend up a whole step on 12 on the high E. And then 12 unbent, and then 10 to 12, all on the high E. Then back down to 12 on the B string. And then right on the fade out you have this. You know, which is another one of those kind of erratic, really cool licks. So it's a tone and a half bend on 12 on the B string, and then release it, and then 12B, 10B, and then have this rundown, which is a grace note slide from 11 down to 9 on the G, pull off to 7, and then 9 on the D string. So. And then we do this again, similar phrase, same rhythm. At 9 G, pull off to 7, and then to 9 on the D. So, and then we have, so same rhythm, same thing as you did on this group of strings, but moving down to the next group of strings. So it's 9 D, pull off to 7 D, to 9 on the A. And then that's 7A, pull off to 5, and then to 7 on the low E, and then 5 to 7 on the A string. So and then you have just funking away. It's I'll play it up to tempo. 3, 4. You know, just kind of really having fun with that triad, that B minor triad that we've encountered previously in this solo. So in other words, it's a bar across the 7th fret on the top, 3 strings. I mean, you can be free with it, you know, you can add your own rhythm. I've seen various tribute bands and various versions of this solo played by great guitarists who have, you know, done their own thing with it. And then that's what you hear right at the end, which is this B minor pentatonic rundown, which is 7 high E to 10 on the B string, and bend up a whole step on 9 on the G, release it and then play 9 unbent, and then 7G to 9 on the D string, and just give it some whammy bar vibrato. So, of course, that was the studio version of the solo as opposed to the extended Pulse version. But a lot of Pink Floyd cover bands, tribute bands, tend to play an extended version of this solo. And I've seen a lot of people play the studio solo all the way to the fade out and then kind of edit in the Pulse version. And that's a really good way to approach it, because you kind of get the best of both worlds and the audience can kind of latch onto something very, very familiar before, you know, kind of going off the charts with the brilliant Pulse version as well. Now, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more content, regular content. I have a series called Lickorama in which I teach you guitar licks a couple of times a week. And if you're looking for a truly immersive blues guitar course, here's a quick word about my website. Cheers guys, I'll see you soon. If you've ever wanted to play the blues with all the emotion of your favourite guitarists, or if you're keen to join in a jam night and just need a bit more confidence, Absolute Blues Guitar has you covered. We offer an immersive course, and whether you're a beginner or an experienced player, we're committed to making an authentic blues guitarist out of you. Everything we teach is broken down note for note, written out in tab and standard notation, and accompanied by high quality backing tracks. We give you all the tools you need to play classic blues and beyond. There really is nothing missing. My name's Bobby Harrison, I'll be your teacher, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you inside.